Hi, I would like to show you some basics of crocheting. What you'll need is just a bit of yarn. At the moment I'm using Stylecraft Special Decay in a nice bright color so you can see it with the contrast of the background. I'm using a 4mm hook. That's all you need really. Before you get started, in a pattern it often tells you to start with a chain. Before you can do a chain, you have to make a slip knot. Now there are different ways of making a slip knot, but the method I'm using, I'll show you, is you take the yarn with the loose end on the right side, this side. Then you take your pointing finger and the tail of the yarn you will wrap twice, once over your finger, so you have 2 loops on your finger. Then you take the left yarn, pull it over the right one, leave it like this, and you take the one on the left at that point again, pull it over your finger, so this loop will stay on your finger, this loop comes off your finger, and there you have your slip knot. You pull on this tail and that will make it nice and tight. Then you can put your hook into the loop, pull on the long end, the end that's attached to the ball of yarn, and that is your slip knot then. Now you can start making chains. For this tutorial we'll make 20 chains so we can get used to a couple of different stitches. So first you yarn over, so you have 2 loops on your hook, and then you pull this loop over the end of your hook. That's your first chain made. So you keep doing that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you should have 20 chains now. You can see that by every little V is a chain. See, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So a pattern often says that you need to make an extra chain to turn, but I'll show you later when you have to make how many extra chains. We're first going to start with the most common stitch, I guess. It's in American terms it's called single crochet, and in UK terms it's called double crochet. It's a little bit confusing, I guess. So what you do now is make 1 extra chain because you're gonna turn, and then you go into the second chain. It might be a bit hard to see, but this is your first chain. I always look at these loops on the bottom, and this is your second chain. So this will be the one you're gonna be working in. So what you do is you go underneath the 2 loops. See, you got 1, 2, 3 loops. You go underneath the 2 and above 1 loop, and on the back of it you pull the yarn that's attached to your ball of yarn. You pull it through the stitch that you've gone in, so now you have 2 loops on your hook. You yarn over again, that means you have 3 loops on your hook, and then the most left piece of yarn you'll keep under your hook while you pull 2 loops over your hook. See, so you have 1 loop left on your hook. So that is your first single crochet in American terms, or double crochet in UK terms made. So we're going to go all the way along the chain like that. That's the second one, the third one, 4th one, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So at this point you should have 20 single crochets. You can see that the stitches look like this. And after this we'll start doing a half double crochet, which is the American term, or a half treble crochet, which is the UK term. Now the turning chain has to do with how long the stitch is. This stitch is actually the smallest one, that's why we only used one turning chain. You'll see the further we go in stitches, the bigger they'll get. So that also means that your starting chain will have to be bigger. So we're gonna chain 2, which means pull your yarn over the hook. You got two loops on your hook, and you pull the most right loop over the hook while the left loop stays under the hook. And you do that again, so you've made 2 chains now. Often in a pattern it will say this will count as one half double crochet or half treble. That means that in this first stitch, this is the first one or the last one of the previous row, you don't have to work in this one because this chain will already count as one stitch. So because we've made this, we will be going into this one, which is the second one. So this is the first one and that's the second one. So to make a half double crochet or a half treble, you yarn over, go into the stitch, and to go into the stitch, I'll show you, the stitch has always like a little V on the top. See, this is the first one, the first V, and this is the second V, and that is where you will have to go underneath. Make sure you'll go under both loops, unless it states differently in the pattern. So yarn over, go into the second V, pull the yarn through, so you got 3 loops on your hook. Now you yarn over again, which makes it 4 loops, and now you have to pull all those 3 loops on the right over your hook in one go while you hold the yarn that's attached to the ball and stuck under the hook, like that. See, that means that this stitch is just a little bit higher than the other stitch. So you repeat that in the next one. Yarn over, you got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull in one go over all the 3 hooks. This might be a bit tricky at first. It's best to just keep the yarn a little bit loose. Try not to pull on this part too tight, because if it's too tight you won't be able to get it over your hook properly, and it'll only make it harder. So you repeat this to the end. So at the end you should have 19 of these made half treble crochets, plus this chain 2 that you done at the start, which means that's the 20th stitch basically. It doesn't look exactly the same, but in a finished work you normally go around it with an edge or a border, and you won't see the difference then anyway. So that's the last one. So we should now have 19 of these made stitches, and then the chain 2 at the start, which counts as 1 stitch. The best way of counting how many stitches that you have made is either look on the V's on the top, or you can pull this apart a little bit, which shows all the stitches you've made. See, that's the first one, the second, the third. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Here's 19, the last one, the first one basically I've made. And this is number 20, then the chain 2, which counted as one of the stitches. So next we'll go to the next up stitch, which will be a double crochet in American terms, or a treble in UK terms. The first stitch we done was 1 chain, it's the height of 1 chain. The second stitch we done was the height of 2 chains, and this stitch is the same height as 3 chains. So you turn your work, you chain 3, so you yarn over, pull the loop over, yarn over, pull the loop over, and yarn over and pull the loop over. So this counts as your first treble in UK or double crochet in American. You'll see here that this is the first, wait, I'll show it with my hook. This is the first stitch, which is where this chain 3 is attached to, which means that this is the second one, and that will be the one where we will be working into. So you yarn over, just like the previous stitch. You go into the stitch, which is the two little V's on the top. You pull through the yarn, so you got 3 loops on your hook now. You yarn over, and instead of pulling through all 3 like we just done, you pull only over 2. That means you have 2 loops on your hook again. Now you yarn over again and pull through the last 2. See how this is now the same height as the chain 3 you've made? So now you're going to go work in this next stitch. You yarn over, go into the stitch, pull through the yarn, so you got 3 loops on your hook. You yarn over, pull through 2 loops, you got 2 loops on your hook. You yarn over and pull through the next 2. This is also a very much used stitch, this double crochet or treble. So you yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the next 2. So you keep repeating this. I'll do it a bit slowly so you can follow it. Coming up to the last ones now. It might be a bit hard to see, but you still got 3 stitches left to work in, which is this one, and the chain. It's a common mistake is that you skip the last one, which makes your blanket go like like this instead of going straight. So you make sure you always count how many stitches you have to make sure that the blanket's edges stay nice and straight. So you would think maybe that this would be the end now, but you've only worked in the one before last stitch. You still need to work in this chain 2 of the previous row. And to do that, you just go into the top of that chain like that, and you just do the stitch the same as how you normally finish it off. So now you should have 19 of those trebles or double crochets that you've made, plus chain 3 that you started the row with. So let's check that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. And this one makes 20 then, the first chain 3. So these 3 stitches are the most common stitches that are used in most patterns. I'll show you in the future, I'll show you how to make other stitches as well. You can make stitches as long as you want just by yarning over more before you go into the stitch. Thank you for watching.